just before we get started talking about the trends and the resources available for soldiers, I want to talk a little bit about the environment and the soldiers themselves. We know that Camp Humphreys in particular is a dynamic, constantly changing training environment. With that being said, our soldiers are very resilient. They're young and agile, so they can adapt to changes. Our soldiers are also pretty passionate about what they do at the 2nd Combat Aviation Brigade. Just the other day, I was telling, we were walking around the super hangar with Sergeant Harcourt, and most of the soldiers told us, hey, I really enjoy my job, really love it, and that's pretty exciting for me. In terms of the trends,
So some of the things that we've kind of noticed as we've been here during our time here is that we're seeing that there's a high op tempo, that there is constant changes within the work environment. And of course, you have your time and separation from friends and family back in the States. This can lead to a couple of different issues that have been brought up from time to time that we see in a clinical basis, but we also see as it relates to commands as a whole. Now, I know a lot of people have talked about and heard about suicide. In the past, we all had trainings on a regular basis. And although this is not necessarily the thing we see the most of, it is one of the things that is most important because it is so severe. So one of the things I want to talk to you a little bit about with suicide is, what do you do? Well, if you or your buddy are feeling like you might be suicidal, don't forget the ACE acronym: ask, care, and then escort. So what that basically is telling you to do is ask your buddy whether or not you really, what's going on. Be honest. Care. If they tell you the truth, seriously, listen to what they have to say, and then make sure you get them to a place where they can be seen. Now, during the day, that would be your behavioral health. You know, that's 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, right? Banker's hours. But what happens if something happens after hours? You're going to want to go to your closest emergency room with that person. You're going to want to make sure that you take them to get seen by a medical professional as soon as possible, and don't leave them alone. So get them there first, get them seen. Now, if they get to the ER, or for example at Camp Humphreys, where we're at, they show up at the transportation office, they'll call the on-call provider. So like this week, for example, I'm the on-call provider. I would be the person at 12, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whenever that happens, who would show up and talk to them, make an assessment, and we'll make a determination from there what needs to happen. So don't forget to make sure that you go with them, you care about what's going on, and you never leave them alone.
So what happens if...
If you can't get it out of your gut that there's a problem, the next thing you need to do is you need to call in a battle buddy. So that can be your first sergeant or commander. That can be a chaplain. And don't forget that the chaplains play a vital role within each of our units. They're actually there for this support. So you can always go to your chaplain. You don't have to go directly to behavioral health. Right. Last but not least, I hate to say it, but if you're really concerned and you think there's a genuine danger, call the MPs. Unfortunately, the most important thing is they may not like you in the morning, but they'll be alive.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's unfortunately, that's sometimes the last resort that you have to go to.
On Friday.
Regular gas prices are $2.85 for premium, $3.23, and for diesel, $2.75.
And then exchange is $1 equals 1,163.
Suicide and
some of the trends.
Take it away.
All right, sounds good. The other trend that we're seeing is family separation and marital issues. Generally speaking, when soldiers leave relatives or spouses behind for a year, we see an uptick in conflict and marital dissatisfaction at home. Separation, we know that separation creates plenty of barriers to communication, and that can be difficult to overcome when friendships and marriages are already fragile. Some of the resources available to CAV soldiers, the Army Community Service Center has classes for relationships. ACS also hosts new parent support classes for parents with children. The chaplain also has a host of services such as the family religious counseling services. And for married couples, they have activities such as the Strong Bonds program. The last trend that we're seeing is an increase in SHARP-related cases. They're on the rise. Sexual assault, as you all know, has a long-lasting and negative effect on individuals, units, and communities. We know that it degrades everything the Army represents. From behavioral health standpoint, We want to change the culture by educating soldiers about what is considered appropriate versus inappropriate behaviors. Remember, if you're a victim of sexual assault, restricted or unrestricted, you are eligible to receive behavioral health services. We have an excellent group of SHARP reps out there, so reach out to them if you would like to report incidents. I'll let Sergeant Harcourt sort of talk a little bit about the numbers and locations and so.
So I'm going to send you a couple of numbers here in case you're interested. So 2CAB's Embedded Behavioral Health is actually co-located with the 65th Medical Brigade's Behavioral Health, and we are in Building S370 at Camp Humphreys. Also remember, our number is 737-5791. So if you are looking and you're not in the area and you have a concern about an emergency on or off-post issue, you can call 031-690-7911, or you can call the National Suicide Hotline with the DSN 737-4673. There's also the on-call chaplain or after-hours chaplain at 010-9496-7445. And don't forget that you can also call for an emergency to using Korean cell phones, 050-5737-4673.
With respect to advice to soldiers who may be interested in seeking behavioral health services, you don't have to go to your primary care provider to be seen by behavioral health. You could just simply walk right into our clinic during normal business hours. We'll do a brief evaluation, and then together we'll come up with or identify appropriate services for you. For emergencies, patients can be seen immediately. For routine and administrative evaluations, that can take anywhere from 48 hours to 72 hours in terms of scheduling the appointment.
So with respect to family separation issues, one of the things that we want to do is encourage soldiers to find creative ways to communicate with your relatives back home. You can do it via email, of course, Skype, FaceTime. You can just use a regular old telephone, give them a call, but it's important to remember to do this on a regular basis. We sometimes get so busy doing our missions, we forget about the people who are there as our support. You know, one of the things they often say is that it takes 12 people to put one soldier in the field, and that's true for you, me, everyone. There takes about 12 people in support of you in order to help you accomplish your mission. So don't forget about those people. They're going to be there for you. But one of the other things I want to talk to you about is because of the situations that we find ourselves in Korea, sometimes we're going to be under stress. There's going to be stuff in the news, like recently, that our family and friends might come back to you and have questions about. Don't forget OPSEC, but also don't forget that there's an emotional burden that you're placing on your family by going to them with your troubles. So try to keep it positive, try to keep it light, and if you have to talk about something, talk to your friends, maybe a member of your command or behavioral health. That's why I'm here. They sent me to Korea to be here for you. So please utilize the resource.
In terms of, as far as suicide and depression, if you know someone who is extremely depressed, encourage them to come and see us, or encourage them to go to their closest emergency room and accompany them there. Just the other day, I had a soldier come in with a battle buddy. The battle buddy didn't leave the soldier's side, and I was impressed, to be honest with you, because the soldier just was very straightforward with me because he had that support system in place. If that's what it takes, please do it. We encourage you to do it.
Also, don't forget about when your SHARP issues we mentioned previously. You want to go to your individual unit SHARP rep. Talk to the SARC-C's SHARP reps if you've got questions and so forth, or go to the behavioral health provider if there's specific questions about treatment options that are available. Whether you're a restricted or unrestricted reporter, you have realized that you have the ability to get treatment. Also, don't forget that last but certainly not least, be mindful that alcohol abuse and lack of sleep are both contributing factors to behavioral health concerns. If you're having concerns about alcohol, you have the ability to self-refer to ASAP, and that number is 753-7366. If there's a sleep issue, you can discuss that with your PCM, your primary care physician, or you can come into behavioral health and talk to us. Very often, a lot of these issues that you might be experiencing can be reduced in severity with. Yeah, sure. So the embedded behavioral health, we're actually assigned to an individual combat brigade, and we move with the combat brigade wherever it would go. And so in that role, we work with both of the commands and with the individual service members or soldiers, not only to do what's best for the soldier and for their clinical health, but also to help commands with questions and concerns that they may have during that process. It's important that we support both our commands and our soldiers to make sure that we're most mission capable as possible.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention just all the people that we work with on a regular daily basis, such as the rest of the behavioral health providers and techs, Captain Giovanni Bass, who is our clinical social worker, real hard charger, Specialist Go, Specialist Lee, Sergeant Perret, who are psych techs, the flight surgeons who really work very closely with us, the medical staffing, of course, Colonel Taylor, who's been very supportive to our role and really our efforts to deal with the behavioral health issues that emerge at the brigade. And then a special shout out to my wife, Claudia, and my kids, Sienna and Diego, who have really been very supportive as well.
Okay, so one of the things I just want to recap again real quick are some of the numbers that we put out earlier, just in case you didn't get them. So if there's an emergency on or off post, you can call 031-690-7911. You can also call from a DSN, the National Suicide Hotline, 737-4673. The on-duty chaplain's after-hours number is 010-9496-7445. And from Korean phones for emergency, 050-5737-4673. And then feel free to stop on by the two-cab embedded behavioral health team. We're located at the in front of the TMC building, S370. It used to be the old NCO barracks. And our phone number is 737-5791, and we're open Monday to Friday, starting at 09 to 1630.
62 as a low.
Gas prices, regulars at $2.85, premiums $3.23, and diesels $2.75.
And the exchange rate is $1 to 1,163 won.
All right, so I'm going to take this time right now and thank you guys for coming out.
Thank you for having us.
All of
Thank
that
you for having
information
us.
was great. It was great to know. I didn't know any of it. I never knew there was an embedded team that moved around with units. That's awesome. Do you guys want to give any shout outs to anybody?
Well, I just want to thank everybody who works very closely with us. HHC, Warrior Knights. Well, I tell you what, thank you very much for all your support. And I want to thank my techs. They work so hard, and my docs. We all work hard, and the commands who come in and work with us as well to help those soldiers.